Have you ever spent an entire Sunday lying quietly on your couch, doing absolutely nothing, only to wake up on Monday morning feeling even more exhausted than before? You are definitely not alone in this experience. We live in a strange era where we are constantly told that we need to relax, practice self-care, and find a healthy work-life balance. Yet, true and restorative rest seems entirely out of reach for most of us. When we finally have a rare moment of silence, instead of enjoying the peaceful stillness, a quiet sense of panic begins to creep in. We instinctively reach for our glowing smartphones, endlessly scrolling through curated social media feeds or checking weekend emails, desperately trying to fill the uncomfortable void. There is a persistent, nagging voice in the back of our anxious minds, whispering that we should be doing something productive. We feel a profound and heavy sense of guilt when we are not actively improving ourselves, learning a new marketable skill, or hustling toward our next big personal goal. We have unconsciously internalized the dangerous idea that our inherent worth as human beings is strictly tied to our constant daily output. And this is the strange and tragic paradox of our modern lives. The more we try to optimize our tight schedules and maximize our daily efficiency, the more fundamentally drained and empty we feel inside. We treat our fragile bodies and minds like digital machines that just need a quick software update or a fast battery charge before running at maximum capacity once again. But human beings are not machines. When we ignore our elemental and biological need for total stillness, our souls begin to quietly suffocate in the background. Tonight, we are going to explore why this profound exhaustion is not a personal failure or a lack of discipline, but rather a systemic psychological condition of the fast-paced world we currently live in. We will gently unpack a brilliant philosophical perspective that explains why the very things we think will make us highly successful are actually tearing us apart from the inside out. If you are feeling tired of constantly running on a societal treadmill that never seems to stop, I invite you to just pause with me for a moment. Let us look to a powerful modern book that offers a deeply comforting diagnosis for our collective modern fatigue. The profound insights we are exploring together tonight originate from a deeply resonant and unsettling book called The Burnout Society, written by the contemporary cultural philosopher Byung-Chul Han. Born in South Korea and currently teaching philosophy in Berlin, Han has quickly become one of the most important and perceptive cultural critics of our modern time. In this relatively short but incredibly dense philosophical text, he argues that the fundamental psychological structure of our modern society has shifted in a way that is literally making us neurologically sick. In the recent past, specifically during the strict industrial age, we lived in what he carefully defines as a disciplinary society. This was a rigid world defined almost entirely by the oppressive word should. People were governed heavily by strict external rules, demanding bosses, and very clear societal boundaries of what was permitted and what was strictly forbidden. And today, Han argues compellingly, we have fully transitioned into what he calls an achievement society. We are no longer driven by the harsh external command of should, but rather by the internal, seemingly positive and uplifting mantra of can. We are constantly bombarded with the intoxicating message that absolutely nothing is impossible, and that we can achieve literally anything if we just work hard enough and maintain a positive mindset. On the bright surface, this sounds incredibly liberating. It sounds like the absolute pinnacle of human freedom. But Han points out a very dark and terrible underlying irony. When we truly believe that we can do anything, we eventually feel heavily obligated to do everything. The cruel external boss with a whip has disappeared from the factory floor, only to be seamlessly replaced by a much crueler and more demanding master, ourselves. We have voluntarily and willingly become our own relentless taskmasters, endlessly pushing ourselves to perform better, to optimize our diets, and to achieve more status. This modern self-exploitation is far more effective than any historical external oppression, precisely because it cleverly masquerades as personal freedom. The tragic and inevitable result of this achievement society is not just physical exhaustion, but a deep, systemic neurological fatigue. We are burning ourselves out, because someone else is forcing us to work in a coal mine, but because we are endlessly chasing an impossible, self-imposed ideal of limitless potential. Byung-Chul Han offers 3 profound and deeply challenging insights to help us navigate this exhausting modern reality. The first crucial insight is actively acknowledging the hidden violence of positivity. We are deeply conditioned from childhood to believe that enthusiastically saying yes to absolutely everything is the ultimate human virtue. A toxic excess of positivity actually destroys our innate capacity to think critically and confidently say no to the things that quietly drain our human spirit. Saying no is not a sign of weakness or laziness. It is a vital, heroic act of psychological self-preservation. The second core insight deals directly with the tragic cultural loss of profound boredom. In our desperate modern attempt to avoid ever feeling bored for a single second, we enthusiastically turn to the grand illusion of multitasking. We proudly pride ourselves on listening to an educational podcast while simultaneously answering work emails and hastily eating our lunch. And Byung-Chul Han brilliantly argues that human multitasking is not a majestic evolutionary step forward. It is actually a biological regression. Even wild, fearful animals in the dangerous jungle must multitask just as to survive, constantly scanning the horizon for predators while nervously eating their food. True human cultural advancement only ever happens when we have the quiet luxury of deep, uninterrupted, focused attention on a single, meaningful task. Profound boredom, the rare state where you are entirely disconnected from buzzing external stimuli and simply exist quietly with your own drifting thoughts, is the rich, fertile soil where true creativity finally takes root. When we systematically eliminate all simple boredom from our daily lives with constant glowing screens, we tragically eliminate the very quiet space where our most profound and authentic ideas are born. We slowly become reactive, anxious machines, constantly responding in sheer panic to the next digital notification rather than acting as proactive, thoughtful creators shaping our own authentic human destinies. So, how exactly do we finally break free from this relentless, invisible cycle of self-exploitation? The practical daily solution does not lie in simply taking a superficial weekend vacation or hastily downloading yet another trendy meditation app just to optimize our evening relaxation. The real, lasting solution involves a deeply radical shift in exactly how we view our daily passage of time. We must actively schedule and fiercely, unapologetically protect what Han beautifully calls empty time. This absolutely does not mean scheduling time to aggressively pursue a new productive hobby, because unfortunately, even simple hobbies have rapidly become stressful performance metrics in our modern society. True empty time is time purposefully and deliberately dedicated to achieving absolutely nothing at all. It is the lost, forgotten art of contemplative, peaceful lingering. And consider taking a slow evening walk without your buzzing smartphone, without a specific physical destination, and without a fast-paced podcast playing loudly in your ears. Allow your mind to simply observe the quiet physical world existing around you without the immense modern pressure of having to produce a brilliant thought or document the fleeting experience for others. At first, this simple act will feel incredibly and deeply uncomfortable. Your modern brain, hopelessly addicted to the cheap dopamine of constant digital stimulation, will loudly and aggressively protest. You will feel a strong, almost physical urge to check your messages or desperately look for a quick distraction. If you can bravely sit patiently through that initial wave of intense discomfort, you will eventually reach a beautiful state of deep, genuinely restorative peace. You are definitely not wasting your precious time. You are actively recovering your very soul. You must consciously and bravely reject the toxic societal optimization trap today. Stop treating every single breathing moment of your beautiful life as a raw resource to be coldly mined for future financial success. Your inner worth is definitely not measured by your daily productivity output. It is measured simply and beautifully by the deeply profound fact that you exist. Resting is never a sign of personal failure. In a loud, demanding world desperately obsessed with endless forward motion, choosing to stand completely still is actually an act of quiet, profound psychological rebellion. It is a necessary and beautiful recovery of the true, authentic self that has been slowly buried underneath heavy layers of societal expectations and endless, stressful to-do lists. Very next time you find yourself with a quiet afternoon of absolutely nothing scheduled or planned, I gently urge you to consciously resist the overwhelming modern temptation to immediately fill it. Do not try to optimize it. Do not try to monetize it. Do not feel a single ounce of guilt for simply being alive and breathing. Allow yourself to physically and emotionally linger in the beautiful, quiet, empty margins of daily life. That quiet emptiness is not a terrifying black void you need to desperately fear. It is the expansive, healing breathing room where your weary soul finally gets to stretch its legs and slowly recover. And thank you so much for choosing to share this quiet, deeply reflective moment with BookDream tonight. We sincerely hope that these profound philosophical insights from Byung-Chul Han provide a small, comforting sanctuary of mental peace in the middle of your incredibly fast-paced, exhausting daily life. If this quiet, honest reflection resonated with your tired soul today, please consider hitting the subscribe button below to join our slowly growing community. We are deeply dedicated to exploring the profound, timeless wisdom capable of permanently transforming the way you see yourself and the beautiful, chaotic world existing all around you. We will be waiting gently for you right here next week with another powerful, life-changing perspective to enrich your incredible mind. Until then, I truly hope you grant yourself the beautiful, radical permission to rest without a single ounce of shame or guilt. Have a wonderfully peaceful, thoroughly unproductive, and deeply restorative night.